What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to the Game or Sleep podcast, the show where we dive into current game news, pop culture, and occasionally what we're doing. Today is March 27th. I'm Harry, and I'm joined by my two friends and co-hosts, Aaron and Larry. What's up, guys?
Not a whole lot. Oh, we're talking over each other already. It's a great start. I'm doing grand. Absolutely grand.
That's awesome. We have a good show today, guys. We're going to be going over some of the current games we're playing. We're going to touch on the Halo series, how we think it's going to go, or our opinions on it. We're going to be tossing a coin to the new Witcher game. And we're going to be talking about some of our favorite games from growing up. So first, we're going to do the random fact. And this one's a little weird. Aaron, I may have said this to you. We grew up together. But they have a list of phobias that have names that are not fitting. So my favorite, my favorite is the fear of long words. Any of you guys know what this is?
It's like a 36-letter word, isn't it?
The word is hippopotamonastrosis quepidillophobia.
What? What is that? Who created that word?
The American language is an asshole.
Yeah. That's like the guy who made like Lisp. He's like, that jerk can't read this.
The American language was an asshole in the first place.
I mean, it really kind of is. It's so asinine on so many levels.
Wait, but can you say that again for me? Because I didn't get it the first time. I thought you were done in the first half.
I've known this for a while, so I can say it really fast or I can slow it down for you. Which one do you want?
Give me a slow down, baby. Yeah, nice and soft and slow.
Hippopotamonastrosis quepidillophobia.
I really like the strosis part.
Like, you definitely laid on the velvet towards the end there. Like, again, you tricked me and I thought it was over. I definitely thought it was like done at the Strovovitz part or whatever it was.
When you come in really fast with it. Hippopotamonastrosis quepidillophobia.
It's your favorite.
It's my favorite.
Fayboy. It's my favorite thing ever.
My fave.
Okay, so episode title, we go with my favorite word.
My favorite word.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
That was really good.
Current games. You guys are on the Elden Ring kick still. I have not had the pleasure of playing that game yet.
I'm telling you, just send me that Venmo.
Find a way to pleasure yourself and get it.
What?
Leave that to the OnlyFans.
That is the opposite of what would happen.
I'm sorry, I just had to. I saw an opportunity and I took it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So any other games that you guys are currently touching on? I know we guys are talking about Tunic has just came to Game Pass.
It came out to Game Pass on launch day. It was a surprise launch day Game Pass tie together. So it was really cool to try it out. I played it first on stream, and it's been great. You guys have played it a little bit too.
I've gotten about 30 minutes in. I'm digging it. It's very pretty. It's easy to get lost though.
Play it with headphones. The music is super chill. It's a vibe that I like to go with.
Oh yeah, I forced you into the headphones. I forced you into the headphones and broke your stream.
It did. It really did break my stream because I had to change all my audio sources, all my stuff, get it all back balanced.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not a real streamer if you're not wearing headphones, right? That's how it works.
No.
Yeah, seriously. That game is actually really interesting. Obviously, Elden Ring has been kind of taking up a lot of our time, Aaron.
Oh yeah.
Now I've begun cheesing the game effectively at this point, so I can't really call myself a proper Elden Ring player.
What is it? What is you called it? What
is that chicken?
Yeah, we're killing the chicken. Yeah. And but jumping into Tunic, it was kind of refreshing. It's got that good cross between, Legend of Zelda and Dark Souls, where it can be punishing and almost a little annoying in that Dark Souls way of like, I just want to get through this area. Don't make me face the demon that's going to shoot at me nonstop, just for me to get back to the area I want to backtrack to.
Right.
But it's so quirky. It's so fun. It's very chill at the same time. I enjoyed watching your stream for the amount that I got to see of it. And then I started to play it almost at the same time because I was like, I've got to jump in. I've got to check this out.
It's while it takes a lot of strong elements from. Sorry, my chair. Sorry. All right. While it takes a lot of elements from Legend of Zelda and Dark Souls, it still finds a way to have a vibe that's uniquely its own. And I've really been enjoying that. Like Larry said, it's super chill, but also punishing, but also the world is fascinating, and the mechanic of finding little pieces of the instruction booklet to put together how to play in the world, and it's all in a language that is not English, so you really do have to analyze it and look at it and break it down and figure out what they're trying to tell you there.
Yeah. And what's awesome about that too is I would listen to an interview with the developer, the primary developer. It was mainly made by one individual, and so it was a very small project that went on for about 7 years.
Wow.
It took a very long time for him to get this going. And in that interview, this was I'll name drop it. It was Podcast Unlocked with Ryan McCaffrey, and the developer spoke about like the process for making the game, and it was kind of that weird tightrope he mentioned of like, was this a good idea to do this and drop everything in my life? And also feeling that need to complete this passion project and do something different than, being a game developer that, you're just doing the bushes for something, it was really neat to hear that perspective about this game, because you can go into this game and maybe you at first blush you're like, ugh, not my style, that kind of thing. But when you hear the developer's story and the developer side of things of, he went through and created everything, but he didn't know all the answers. He didn't know all aspects of the game development side of things. Like, he had to bring in people for the sound because, that wasn't his forte as a primary developer. He had to bring people in for the like contracting side and the monetizing side for, like, for instance, getting contract signed to do a deal with Xbox for Game Pass. And there's so many things that go into development that, anyone could probably sit down and maybe code a few things and create something. But it's wild to think that this game took 7 years and we can just fly through it in, a certain amount of time, and there it goes, right?
Right.
And I think when it comes down to like thinking about Tunic and how long it's been waited for by some folks, he had support in his own Discord for people that were testing the game and checking it out and supporting it. I think that really carries forward into what we'll talk about in the show later in terms of games that were impactful for us, in terms of our top fives and things that kind of stand the test of time for us in our memories. And I think you guys would agree with me.
Oh yeah,
definitely. But there's just so much to the game, and I want to get more into it. I'm not very far. I've beat the first boss. I'm close to the second boss, so I'm like, I think 15% through. But
see, I was just finally getting the shield and then going ham on beating those turrets up that were lighting me up at the beginning.
The shield is a game changer. Yeah, it really is, because those turrets are so punishing.
I just got the stick, so.
So it's funny you say that.
I was exploring, guys.
The thing I love about this game, its map design is like chef's kiss primo, because there's a way to access almost every area a back way. Because usually a lot of areas you find new will lead you through and you'll come out of a way that's to an area you've already been. So theoretically, it is possible to find that back path in before you find the new area.
I had to turn my gamma up because I couldn't see the ladders that were on the shade side of the wall.
And I say that because, Larry, were you there when I fought the first boss on stream?
It wasn't. Was it that that commander.
Yeah, the big knight.
Yeah.
It had a big health bar across the screen like a Dark Soul boss.
Yep.
Someone on Giant Bomb, I think it was Jess Voidberger on Twitch, I think, on Twitter, but she never found the sword, and she beat that boss with the stick.
Listen, you can do anything, if you're patient enough.
But she got all the way to that boss to find the stick. Then after that boss, she stumbled upon the sword, and she was like, "Are you kidding me?"
And that's what's awesome about this game in the sense that, and I kind of bounce off of the things that I learned from hearing the developer talk, was that, just like you mentioned a little bit earlier with the game manual, quote unquote, that you find those pages over the course of playing the game. I love that those pages are like in gobbledygook language until like you keep finding pieces of the actual manual, and it reminds me, and I think some of this has like, I guess, an influence. Like, it reminds me of like seeing like Japanese art for like Mario or Zelda, seeing those manuals that like they evoke something in me that was like, you don't get that anymore in modern gaming.
You don't.
It's super neat.
So sad that we've passed the era of getting game manuals that have really cool art and really cool details of the story and the world. And that's just an era that's passed. Like, Elden Ring doesn't come with a manual. Like,
right. And to compound on that too, I think it's awesome that, like Harry he's just got the stick, the Giant Bomb member that just went through with the stick. Like, you could literally just go left, from the get go, not know what you're doing. The game doesn't tell you what to do, and you're just exploring and enjoying. Mm-hmm. And to me, like, I don't know, it makes it difficult in the sense for like someone who doesn't game picking up and playing. But at the same time, if you're just going to be zen and explore a little bit and maybe be spooked and scared by like an enemy that comes after you, like, then okay, that sparks learning. I think it sparks, experience, just like that first time you play Super Mario and you jump on the first Goomba, right?
Mm-hmm. I enjoy the hands-off kind of storytelling where it lets you go through and figure it out yourself. I hate having that, here's the path you need to take. Keep going.
Or the games that are like, or the games that just like you walk and then it does a pop up, freezes, takes away game control, and says you can press A to swing your weapon.
Listen,
thanks. I would have figured that out pretty quick, but I guess a pop up and taking away control is necessary. And it's cool because the opening of Tunic seems like an homage to Link's Awakening. You wake up on a beach and go. And you got to figure it all out.
One of the cool things too that I've learned is that they have a ton of secrets built into that game, just secret passages. Think Elden Ring, like doors and stuff like that are hidden, and it was all very intentional. Again, this is all from the interview. This is what I like really grasped onto, and I loved hearing, was they thought about these secrets in terms of percentages. So they thought of these secrets like there are things that, like, for instance, that I could come across because I'm searching every nook and cranny, but Harry might mainline through the game and miss some of these, like, 10% of people will find it type of secrets.
Right, but that's so cool just for word of mouth, talking with friends about games.
Yes.
Like that's what's made Elden Ring, I think, so successful, is you can be two friends can be playing the game at the same time, meet back together after the weekend at work and be like, yo, dude, did you find this dungeon under the bridge? He's like, what are you talking about? And just it sparks conversation, gets people involved, and the word of mouth has been so fun with these games lately.
That's just me with the game. Did you find this? What? I haven't even played the game.
Yeah, but you're not going to remember any of these details when you actually crack it open. You're like, I heard something about a bridge and a tower and something.
There's a bridge.
There's a bridge. There's a lot of bridges.
Something about birds with knives for feet.
No rock left unturned on Elden Ring.
Yeah, Harry's just gonna beat the 24-minute speed record in Elden Ring because he's going to hear so much about it before he starts to play it that he's just going to be like pro level before anything even happens.
I'm literally going to be Internet Explorer when it comes to Elden Ring. You guys are going to be like level 150 and stuff. I'm like, hey, did you guys hear about this?
Did you guys see that tree sentinel?
By the time Harry gets it, the DLC drops, so it changes everything.
Oh God.
Because speaking of those speedruns, those have been totally broken now. Like,
yeah,
you can't do it anymore. You can't.
Well, they got the fastest one is 24 minutes,
and that will never be beat. And it's in its separate category now because in the latest patch, Miyazaki's like, you know those trees people have been using to climb to get over the boss wall? Yeah, delete them.
Wait.
And they removed those trees people have been climbing on.
Oh,
literally, those trees are gone.
If that's the one I'm thinking of, and no spoilers for anybody who doesn't want to hear about that, just nod your head if it's the one I'm thinking of that everybody's posted the video of, where you jump over that wall and the thing doesn't react.
It's gone. That tree. They removed that tree. Just deleted it.
No.
And that's the thing. And people just think, oh, well, people will find a way to get faster. I'm like, and Miyazaki will just be like, no, that's not allowed. I'm doing a patch.
Bad.
Hit me harder, daddy.
But yeah, so Tunic's been great. I want to play Ghostwire Tokyo, but I can't drop the $60 right now. But it's also like Kirby. I could play Kirby.
I watched our buddy play Kirby a little bit. That was pretty fun.
I want Kirby. Everyone's saying it's a spiritual successor to the N64 Crystal Shards. And
it was very unsettling watching Kirby try and swallow a bookshelf, though.
You don't like Kirby deep throat in a car?
No, he was struggling.
Did you guys see that video I sent you?
No, I don't think I did.
Of Kirby.
No, I didn't catch that.
It's on the Clock app.
Oh, I'll have to go there. I'll have to go check out the Clock app.
It's Kirby related.
The Talk Tick.
Yeah, I'm on the free game kick right now. That's why I kind of over the last week completed Guardians of the Galaxy. Went ham.
Ooh, yeah.
You got heavy into it, huh? Tell us more.
Heavy into it. Oh man, that is a beautiful game. It is. It's kind of linear, and it's like I would say dungeony, like a dungeon crawler-esque kind of game. It gets kind of repetitive, but it's the story is beautiful. It's a beautiful story.
See, and that's what I've heard is the writing is supremely good. The characters are so well flushed out. So tell us more. Like
at the end of it, I was sitting there talking to my wife about it. I was like, that game had no right to be that good.
Oh, it had every right to be that good. It's Guardians of the Galaxy, and they've
I know
through MCU they've set an absolute statement in terms of like comedy for writing. And I know it's not the same as the MCU, but how many gems were in that game every 2 seconds?
It's not in the MCU at all. That's of course, but it has so much shared DNA. Like it's obviously an homage to itself.
It's hilarious how you can affect your teammates' moods by interacting, and it's just like for like the first half where you guys are both to this part, so I can say this. I had Rocket so pissed off at me because I let Drax toss him, and I was like,
I did not let that happen.
I did too, but I didn't do it the first time. I did it the second time,
and then I kept poking the bear, and I was like, finally, he's just like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do this anymore." I was like, "Yeah, that's right."
I love every interaction with Drax. Because they stuck so well to that the
macho
Batista mentality that he's got. Yeah. Oh, like what's his quote from the Guardians of the Galaxy movie? Nothing would go over my head. I would catch it. And it's just filled with all that kind of stuff from him. It's awesome. I love how literal he is.
Yeah, but I can't really go too far because you are halfway through. You're at where the Nova Corps.
No spoilers.
Okay. Where the blue people are being mystified by the church. I couldn't think of another word for church.
There we go. No,
Evangelicals. The space evangelicals.
I guess we'll put it this way. If you haven't played the game just yet, and we do want to talk about any spoilers, you can certainly skip ahead maybe 30 seconds if you needed to. And Harry can mention what he'd like to mention, and we go from there.
It is free if you have Game Pass. I will put that out there.
It's free if you pay $10 a month.
I said if you play if you have Game Pass.
You could probably play it on your Steam Deck too.
You could probably starting 30 seconds from now, I would go forward if you are planning on playing it. If you would just like to hear anyway and spoilers don't bother you right now. So we're the church and you're fighting the one guy with the golden arms. I can't think of his name right now. You feel like it's going to be the end of the game. You really do. And then it just cock blocks you really bad. And it's like, oh, this isn't the end. You bastards.
Oh, so there's a twist. Okay.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. It's good.
Gotcha.
I need to get back to it. I'm going to move for story games right now, too. Like, I need that itch scratched.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Elden Ring's been fun. Tunic's been fun, but I miss a good old-fashioned... It's linear. It's straightforward, but let's tell you a story. It's like... Because there's something special about those.
Would you guys succumb to the promise? That's the question right there.
I guess it depends on what the promise is. So, but I think I know what you're talking about, and probably not. That just reminded me of some of the wrinkles that were in that game that were just like, that hits so well. Like some of the flashback parts, Harry, I'm sure you've been to that part and passed it, obviously, because you beat the game. I don't know about you, Aaron, but there were some awesome flashbacks that were really cool to get through.
I've been through a few of the flashbacks, but not the one. I saw the one when you were streaming the game a while back when he first gets the guns, and I've not been to that flashback yet.
Near the end of the... This is another spoiler, so maybe like 15 seconds.
Don't spoil any end for me.
Yeah, if it's late game, you're playing a dangerous game.
No, it's just gonna make you... There's a part that's gonna make people cry.
Okay, all right.
Yes. All right.
Gotcha.
I'm okay with crying. I'm in touch with that side of me.
Yeah, I wouldn't say cry, but if a certain thing has happened to you in life, it is going to hit you right in the chest.
I cried watching Frankenweenie, so that is my.
I cry watching rom-coms, so I am fine with this.
Harry, what do you cry watching?
The last thing. Oh man, too much. I last movie I cried was Endgame, dude.
Well,
yeah. When Tony died, I was just like, oh, sorry. Spoilers. If you guys haven't seen a movie that's been out for a year and a half, I'm sorry.
No. If you haven't seen that movie, you don't deserve to watch it spoiler free at this point. I'll take a hard line stance on that.
I'm trying to think of the last movie that made me tear up, and I'm actually struggling. I know a lot do, but I watch. Hold on. What? Turning
Audience
Red. I cried during Turning Red. Yes, it made me tear up. The Pixar Disney movie with the red pandas and the...
It's a good thing we have women to keep us in check.
Oh,
exactly.
I don't know about that one.
Turning Red is a story. It actually is really resonates with people in our age group because it's about a girl going through middle school and adolescence in 2004.
Gotcha.
So it's very relevant to our age group. So it hits home with a lot of struggles and things that we may have had. And it's just about a quirky, odd girl struggling with finding herself and the balance between being respectful to her family and her heritage, but also embracing who she truly is. And
it's a good movie.
My
daughters have watched it like...
I teared up during that movie.
Yeah. As far as tearing up for me, it was when Tony died and up to the funeral part. That was like
constant tears. Just
trying to keep it together. I'm strong.
I think the most recent thing I got misty eyed. My eyes started to sweat. Was It's like a Pixar thing. Denise and I watched. It was Bao. It was about a dumpling.
Bao.
It was about
Bao's
a dumpling.
Then you would love Turning Red. It's the same director.
Okay. Yeah, that was a cool little short.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bao
So
is
listen,
great.
end of the story here. This little sidetrack that we just went on is that we are fine young gentlemen that are in touch with our emotions, and we're not afraid to cry.
Nah,
Mm-hmm.
it's healthy. It makes me feel good.
Anyway,
sometimes you just need a good cry, a good sob, an ugly cry.
I did my best.
So speaking of like movies and stuff, the Halo series, guys, what are you guys gonna watch it?
My opinion is it's a thing.
It's a thing.
Listen,
like,
I've got a lot of nostalgia for the Halo series. I would desperately want it to be something that can suck you in with, character building, things like that. Like, I like the idea of things like ODST or Halo Reach. Give me something that's like boots on the ground, like in the trenches types of stuff.
that was not subtle at all.
Yeah, not at all. But the
Tactical beer open.
The things that I don't want out of the show is, I don't want the Doom guy running around killing monsters arbitrarily. Now, I've heard two things, and we kind of touched on it a little bit as we were kind of like figuring out what to discuss a little bit. But I've heard both sides of the coin, in terms of like, it's not like the game, and this is why it's good. It's not like the game, and this is why it's bad. And I don't know which side of the fence I would land on. I would have to watch it.
This is their strike three. If it does not go good over the next episode drops, it is going to kill any future chance of another live action Halo thing. Because this is the third time, and if it's bad, then it's 3 bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the biggest criticism I heard about episode 1 is Master Chief took his helmet off, and that's weird.
Yeah,
that feels wrong.
Here's my criticism: why is Master Chief the same size as the ODST?
When he was like, isn't he canonically like 7 foot plus?
Yeah, he's like 7+ foot. He's like huge, and it's like
he's a juggernaut. Even in Infinite, isn't he like just towering over these normal Marines? Like, don't worry, champ, just fly the plane.
Yeah, he is. He's supposed to be like gigantic.
I just want his voice. I don't want to see his face. My favorite line from him is "Going to get my shit back."
I'll probably get in trouble for this, but this is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief, and you're listening to Gamer Sleep, the world's #1 video game podcast.
Steve Downs, if you listen to this podcast, do a cameo, please.
Also, all protections and parody. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Just a big fan. No, but you asked earlier, is this something that, we'll watch? And yes, but no, because it's on Paramount Plus.
That is the biggest issue. I don't need another streaming service. I don't.
Like, I want to support this because at my core, as a gamer, as a gaming enthusiast, someone who's been gaming since I was young, that has a lot of nostalgic feeling over, first going through the Halo game originally on Xbox. I want to support this, just like I liked the idea of that, that other, Halo series that we won't speak of. I just want to be enthusiastic about it, and I want to participate. But you're putting it behind something that I don't want to go out of my way to tap into.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
Guess what? I'm gonna talk to people who have watched it, and I'm gonna end up listening to their opinion rather than forming my own. And that's the bad thing about it.
And when it comes to this, and streaming services doing that cockamamie scheme where they're like, well, we'll give you a free 10-day trial so you can check out the show, but it is coming out week by week, so you're going to have it for 13 weeks to watch the whole show. It's like, no, screw that. I'll stay off Twitter. I'll block Halo Show hashtag, and I'll wait till the show's done, get the 10-day free trial, and binge it in a weekend.
I just
and then
want to
cancel
say
the service. Like,
I just want to say I really appreciate your old soul cockamamie.
cockamamie scheme. Like,
Yeah, get off my lawn, kids.
I don't have a lawn. I rent because I'm a millennial.
Mine's more like get off my mud because I live in northern Midwest. So my yard is just completely mud right now.
But I'm just back in the day when streaming first caught on and got big, it was so cool and refreshing to have a one-stop shop to get all your stuff. But now we're back to the point where it's no better than a cable service. That, oh, do I want to add HBO for this month? Do I want to add this package to get this channel? It's like, no, I really don't anymore.
I have HBO.
Right.
I have
one
HBO.
reason, and one reason only, and it is Doctor Who.
I have
Because
HBO
love me some
because
Doctor Who.
HBO honestly has the best selection of movies out of any of them.
Yeah,
I get
true.
Hulu for free. My Amazon Prime is free. So I've got those. Amazon Prime doesn't really have the best shows selection, except for The Boys. The Boys is fun. And I don't know if you guys have caught that before, but awesome comic series and then good adaptation of into a show.
Mhm.
Netflix is hurting me because it keeps raising its prices.
Dude, that's
Netflix
annoying.
keeps
Yearly.
raising their prices,
The last
and
3 years.
Yeah.
Netflix keeps raising their prices, and I'm honestly struggling to think of anything that I care about that's Netflix exclusive anymore.
We got rid of it.
The only reason I still have it is because my girlfriend's mom pays for it, and we just log into it.
Okay.
I mean, we consistently put Schitt's Creek on.
I mean,
so that's usually blasting in the background.
See, our comfort show in our household is Bob's Burgers. Just go put on a couple episodes of Bob's and just.
Yes.
We're a hoarders family here. We watch hoarders.
Trash TV.
Oh no.
See, the only time I break down and watch trash TV is like, hey, want to make a few mixed drinks and watch 90 Day Fiance? Fuck it, sure.
Hey, listen.
No. The
when
Great
you have
British
wild
Baking
kids,
Show.
Yes.
When you have wild kids and you're constantly looking around your house, you're like, man, these kids are destroying this house. And you watch hoarders, you don't feel so bad about yourself, okay?
So you watch hoarders for a self-esteem boost. Am I getting this correct?
Yes, a little bit.
All right.
You could be spending your time feeling better about yourself by beating a boss in Elden Ring.
Guys, if I ever get to the point where I'm watching My 600-Pound Life to feel better about myself, please do an intervention.
Kids,
please help me.
You got it.
Kids are awesome.
You heard it here first, listeners. So please provide emotional support to Aaron if that ever were to
If I ever start watching My 600-Pound Life.
You guys don't have children yet.
No.
I'll tell you this. Kids are awesome. They are tornadoes.
Why are you winking?
They are tornadoes inside of a little person.
I have nieces and nephews. I know how that is. I just get to give them back.
Yeah.
You
don't
get
give them back.
That's the way to keep it.
You don't get to give them back. You got to hope they go to bed on time.
Hope
is the
go to
key
sleep.
word there.
That's all parenting is hope.
When the kid learns the word no, go to sleep. No.
Gosh.
Now it's trouble.
Guys, I think it might be time to jump into our top fives.
All right.
What we got one. I think we got one more. We got the Witcher.
Oh.
Ooh, yeah.
A new Witcher game's been announced. Mm-hmm. That's exciting.
That's right. How could we forget? How could I forget? It wasn't you guys. That was me.
Because we're just having a chill time, talking around, having a conversation, and things slip your mind. But
it's all good.
New Witcher game.
Good.
It's probably 5 years off anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So they confirmed that the Witcher game was coming out, or actually will be worked on. Excuse me. And I thought there was a really neat detail, Aaron, that you pointed out about the screenshot that surfaced for it that was released. So it showed an emblem. What emblem was that?
It was the medallion in the snow was of the Lynx. So
right.
I don't think that's a Witcher house that we've had much interaction with in the games, because the ones that we've seen, right, were like the cat, the panther, the bear, the wolf, and was there any others mentioned in Witcher so far?
Not in the games that I can recall. I mean, what is really cool, and this will kind of stem into a little bit of our later conversation too, is like the Witcher is an awesome book series prior to gaming and the show and everything like that. So like I've listened to the audiobooks, played the game, watched the show, and I'm still learning lore for it. It's weird because the books just kind of dive into different adventures that Geralt goes on, for
Right,
instance,
because the first 3 books are short story collections, are they not?
Exactly. So I like to look at those books as like just tiny little adventures that would be, for instance, in The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
So that's what's awesome about that. And I'm really curious to see what ends up going into, despite everything that CD Projekt Red has been going through previously, what will go into this new installment of The Witcher, right? Which way is it going to go?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm guessing since it's going back to The Witcher, it's going to be a third-person game again, and it's going to be in that world. But they are switching to Unreal Engine 5 over their Red engine. So that's going to be interesting to see how that affects things. Yeah. But
now, did you guys play a lot of The Witcher 3?
I played a fair bit, but I want to get back to it now that I got my beefier PC. I could actually dive into it deep. So I might start that soon because I've been craving a story-based game, like I said. So
every time I hear Unreal 5 Engine 5, I want to do the whole Plankton, wah, shishing, sparkle, sparkle.
I mean, yeah, because we haven't seen much of a games built from the bottom up on Unreal 5 yet.
I played really games on Unreal 5. It made it better.
Fortnite's on Unreal 5, but it's not built on Unreal 5. So a little bit of a difference. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where it goes. But in retrospect, like I gave CD Projekt Red a break for Cyberpunk a little bit just because of the circumstances. Like really looking into it, like they went from being a company that builds games based off story of books and having source material and third person to we're switching it up, no source material, nothing to go off of. We're going to first person, and it's a totally different game, totally different systems. There's not much carryover between the two. So what they did was insanely ambitious for a smaller studio.
Yeah,
they just overpromised.
I'm with you in that sense, and I'm very surprised that despite the hype that I had for that game, that I really actually dropped it and didn't go back to it. I popped in like, okay, the update came out, let me go ahead and see, and I just wasn't interested again, just because it didn't hit the note that I wanted it to for me, unfortunately. And I know that there's people that still love that game, despite everything. And I know that CD Projekt Red has a lot of ground to make up for their fan base. But I really I like that point that you make. It's a different game.
It's entirely different. It's like
I never even touched
there's no shared DNA, none.
Right.
So what they did was insanely ambitious, and yeah, they overpromised. I'm not gonna cut them all the slack. Like, whatever, you guys, it's fine. It's like, do better on your marketing next time, and keep things in check more. But nonetheless, it's just like, while I bounced off Cyberpunk as well, I don't think it was a bad game, and I just think they're cutting their teeth on something entirely new, and there's learning curves. But the gaming community is very unforgiving.
I never touched Cyberpunk because I was going to buy it, and then all of a sudden it's like the hammer of all of the bad reviews came out. I was like, I don't think I'm going to spend $60 on that.
Right, and I pre-ordered it. So, same. And I still have played like maybe 3 hours, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same. Yeah, I didn't get too crazy far into it. And
I might.
It's a shame. It's a shame because I want that developer to do well, and it's a shame that they also ran into the issues they did making that title. And I hope that experience then helps that studio to change their dynamic, that culture that unfortunately I think the employees were going through in creating that title. And that they can compound on the success they found with the Witcher series prior to.
Yeah.
And
I just think,
because I don't know what your feelings are on it. Like, Harry, how did you take in The Witcher 3? Was that something that you really were into, or?
I'm going to be honest, I beat it.
Okay.
And I like fast as I could.
Okay.
And then never touched it again. Like even when the
Wow.
DLC came out, they were like, "Oh, the DLC adds so much more." I was like, I just don't care.
I mean, if it's not for you, it's not for you. All respect.
No,
to
I liked
that.
it. I liked it. It's just, I don't know. It's
See,
just,
and I've seen a lot of gameplay of it, and some of the DLC story is better than the main games. Like, it's so well written and so well paced, and it's got so much drama and tension.
That's what I heard, but it was kind of dull through the story mode. So I was like,
because even I've heard from people, the main quest line in the base game is lackluster. It's the side quests that add so much depth and so much character to the world, and Geralt being flushed out is through all the side quests.
I might have to go back because at that time, granted, when The Witcher 3 came out, I was a new father. Like I had just had my first kid.
Yeah, that changes everything then, man.
Different mindset with a different amount of time. For
so
sure.
gaming,
for sure.
Gaming was on the back burner. Well, still kind of is to my kids, but
of course,
it was way back there because that was my first newborn, and I was like freaking out.
Now, Aaron, did you spend a lot of time with that game? Like, was it a slow burn for you?
I'll be honest. I played barely none of the game itself. However, at the time, who I was dating at the time, different than who I'm dating now. Good thing. Good thing. But I watched them play it a lot. So I got a lot of the story through there and a lot of the character building through there. And it makes me want to play it. I just haven't found the time to sit down. Like, I'm ready to dedicate 100 hours to a game.
Yeah.
So
I think that in all honesty, the only gripe I really had with the game was the user interface for like menus. Yeah. But I think it really lends itself well to PC. Yeah.
See, and that's where I'm excited to play it.
Not to console. Yeah. So that's like the real only gripe I have with it. It's an awesome story-based game with tons of content. Quite literally, like I beat the game. I beat the game, but I never beat the DLCs, which I would love to do. But the side quests were my favorite part about it. Just like I could literally pick out 2 side quests that impacted me more than the main quest of the game by like a long shot. Yep. And I just simply won't go into them for the sake of, if you ever jump into it, but we can get into that conversation later if you guys want to. And if that I don't even care about spoilers. If you haven't played that game at this point in time, you're doing yourself a disservice because it is quite literally, it was to me a masterpiece in terms of, a game of its time.
Exactly.
So impressive. And it makes me so upset that Cyberpunk fell short. But
I think that's why Cyberpunk got so much hate, honestly, is because the expectations were so monumentally high coming off The Witcher 3 and the DLCs.
Yeah.
I think that games should stop promising certain things before the game's released.
But shareholders demand it.
That doesn't matter. The shareholders don't buy the games.
Doesn't matter. The shareholders
How do
care.
You know?
But if they're going to sit there, tell them we're going to give them like the best gaming experience ever, and then you get in there and it's like, oh man, this is like Pong.
No, but the fact of the matter is,
Pong's
CD
a great
Projekt
experience. What are you talking about?
Could have made Cyberpunk a way better game if they weren't pushed by their shareholders to put it out by a certain date.
You know what really
End of story.
Oversold that game? You know what really oversold it was Keanu. It's like, this game must be great. They got Keanu in it.
I mean, he's breathtaking.
I know. He's amazing. But I think that was like the sell. Like that was their sell.
Like I was gonna say you can't blame Keanu for sure, but he definitely brought some star power to it that made that put a luster on it. Like oh my goodness, this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
yeah, it did. And celebrity cameos in games is still a very odd thing in this day and age. No one's done it well enough to justify it yet.
I have. Oh man, no. I'm gonna say this right now.
Say it.
The Rock in Fortnite blew my mind, and then
Hey,
I
it's
got
that guy from Fortnite.
and then I got thinking about it because I was sitting there and I was like, "Wait, he's the Foundation." I was like,
He's the Rock.
"Why?" Why didn't I see this sooner? It's like the Foundation, the Rock.
That is so stupid. I love it.
I can only shake my head.
I can't ever fully hate Fortnite, but I can definitely shake my head at it.
It's going crazy right now. Like, if you have prior gaming knowledge, you are dunking on the ability kids.
Oh yeah, yes. That's actually a good side piece of information that we didn't even touch on.
Yeah,
I'm not a Fortnite guy myself, but the whole buzz about them removing building for this season is crazy.
It is not this season. It is.
It's indefinite.
No. It's like for the next, I think, 2 or 3 weeks.
They're testing the waters, though.
No,
this is them testing the waters.
Okay, so I'm gonna explain some Fortnite lore.
All right, go.
I'm gonna be that guy.
Lure us up, Daddy.
Right now, there is a battle going on between the IO and the 7, and one of the sides has the ability. They shot a bomb that takes away the capability to build. So now we're doing missions in the game as you're playing. Like there's side missions as you're playing the battle royale, and you're trying to get building back. That's basically what you're doing.
All right.
Oh, okay.
All right. So there's an in-world explanation for why it's no longer there. Cool.
See, that's
cool.
That's the thing that drew me to Fortnite to begin with, because I was like, oh, it's another battle royale. Because I was playing PUBG and Apex beforehand, and I was like, I'm not gonna like this. And I was like, oh man, they actually add lore to this. This is fantastic.
All right. I can give them some credit then for in-world lore reasons why they have game mechanic changes is a pretty fun thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah, that is pretty neat. I gotta say, I gotta agree with you there. I'm not a Fortnite guy. I probably part would be terrible at it, part would not really be invested in it, but that is cool to see. And I do enjoy watching you play. So when I've caught you playing, Harry, I've really enjoyed it. And I can say that I don't typically enjoy spectating those types of games. So that is pretty cool to learn. So thank you for that tidbit of knowledge. And I'm sure that there's a lot of folks out there that are in our same shoes of not really participating, that might actually help them say whoa, that's kind of neat. I might check this out.
Right. I think it gets a lot of hate, undeserved hate. That's just my thing.
It's popular. Of course it's going to get hate.
That exactly. Like anything that's super popular, it gets hate. End of story. I mean, Tunic is getting review bombed because it's like a Legend of Zelda game.
It is a great game, but it's not a game I would put in one of my iconics, like the ones we're going into right now, where games that made us enjoy gaming growing up into now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how do
that
we
sounds like
start
that sounds like
this?
you're transitioning, sir.
It does sound like a segue. Let's do it. All right. So
basically, it's just what are some of the games? You can be retro games, newer games that you guys want to go off one by one, and we can talk about one in each game individually.
I think we should go round table, starting with your bottom 5, and work our way up.
The bottom 5?
Oh, I did not order them that way.
You didn't order them?
Mine are in no particular order because
for you.
I can't place them in any kind of order.
All right, mine have an order at least. Mine do have an order.
Yeah, I did. I'll start off. I don't know if you guys heard this one. It was a Sega game, The Lost Vikings.
I have heard of it, but I never played it. That's one of the first Blizzard games.
Mm-hmm. That's when they were what was it called? Something in Synapse.
Yeah, they had a different name then. So tell us a little bit about it. Give us a blurb.
It's basically just a platformer where you get to play between 3 different Vikings. It was an early touch on current games where you can have different characters that do different things.
So tell us why it was important to you.
Like an A to B type of platformer.
It's because I was a Sega kid. That's all I had, and that was one of my favorite games back in the day.
And you were a Viking.
I was a Viking.
But were you lost? Or are you still lost?
I'm lost now. Wasn't lost then.
Go ahead, Aaron. What do you got?
All right, for my first one, I'm going to bring up, it's the only Pokemon game on the list. I decided to put one on there because I have to, at least one. And the one that is most important to me is probably Pokemon Soul Silver.
Why?
Okay.
Why? Because Silver was an important game to me. It's one of the ones I had the most memories with as a child. And when this game came out, I was much older, obviously, going from the Game Boy Color to the DS.
Mm-hmm.
It just rekindled that feeling of the original so well when it came out. Now I could tell you 20 reasons why it sucks based on like level curves bad and Pokemon distribution's bad, but that's just being a hater, honestly. But the game is just
we don't touch our feels. We don't touch them.
No, it doesn't touch how I feel about the game. I can be have objective criticisms about the game, but that doesn't change how I feel about it. It was such a cool game with so much character and heart and color and just so unique at the time for a Pokemon game, even though it was the same formulaic, get the badges, collect your team, blah, 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 blah. I love the art in it. I like the Pokemon following you. Having 2 regions is cool, but that's not what made it cool. It was just, the Johto region is probably my favorite region in Pokemon.
Yeah. And I totally get it too. Like, to go into even my list, for instance, I really don't have anything retro in, anything that's like crazy from my youth. I do have one on there, which I'll mention shortly. But where I went with this was, really not based on whether it was a masterpiece or not necessarily or anything like that. It was really just about how it made me feel in the moment of playing it and how I can finally look back into playing those games. So what's really funny is you bringing up the Pokemon game. Like, I don't have a Pokemon game on my list, but I ended up spending so much time in my life playing Pokemon Blue, and there are memories, like smells, sounds, like feelings that are tied to these games. And I think that anybody listening to can feel that same thing about the games that they really are fond of. And I like for real, I ask anybody listening to, if you're in our Discord or anything like that, drop in your top 5 as well and participate, because I'd love to hear, what really was special to you, of course, too. So with that being said, probably the oldest game that's going to be on my list here, because of its impact on me from when I was a kid, even into later age, Super Mario World. So, game was immense. It was a game that I couldn't even beat on my own playing as a kid. I didn't have a Super Nintendo growing up, but I had friends that had it. So I would jump in and play at any possible time that I could. Excuse me. And, but going into like later life, like I had a lot of fun with my friends. Like legitimately, we recorded our album. We spent a week at the studio, and guess what? There's a Super Nintendo at the studio, and we sat there and played the hell out of that game, and we beat it within that 1 week of just everybody passing the controller over and just continuing to play the game while others were going into the booth and recording. And that kind of stuff, it ties so many memories in, along with just having a really awesome, game structure, having great nostalgic characters. Obviously, Mario's super popular, but it's like the one I think that is totally mainstream that somebody would be like, yes, that one's my favorite game. So it kind of feels like a cop-out to me, but it is definitive for me.
That's awesome. Yeah. See, that's great. Made me think of so many memories with gaming. Like, just brought a smile to my face.
Right.
So Harry, you're up next. Let's
see. Let's check my list. list wise, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone for the PS1.
What? All right.
Whoa.
I get it. I get it though. Tell us about it.
Okay,
Unload.
I have to preface this. I love my mother,
All right.
but at the time she was going through a thing where Harry Potter was the devil, like,
That devil magic.
And she broke down and let me rent this game, and I fell in love with it. It was so good for the time.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Like, story wise, it is beautiful.
Yeah. Just something so pure about the nostalgia there. Like,
it is more true to the book than the movie, like the first movie was. So I mean,
I remember those old PlayStation games, dude. There's some heart to them. Yeah.
I had to secretly read the books at school. So
no, I'm with you. I was resistant to reading those books when I was younger, but they were bought for me as like birthday gifts, and that even brings up memories for me of, like, you just hang off the edge of your bed reading a book, and you have like summers off of school, and there you go, you're kind of diving into an adventure, and it brings a sense of, like, man, no pun intended, like magic into your life, and
it really does.
and that's really awesome.
Yeah, I love Harry Potter. That is my second favorite book series, following anything J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got to be excited for the new game then too.
Oh yeah,
Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah. October, baby, October.
I'm so excited about that game. I'm trying to push away the political issues with that, and J.K. Rowling being a human piece of garbage, and it's a challenge. But she is a trash person. But what she created has outgrown her.
She created this world, and now she's trying to dip her fingers back into it. It's like, leave it alone, please.
It's just, I mean, it's a challenge, because I understand the people who are like, don't support her, don't support that garbage, don't support someone who is literally trying to make other people's lives worse because of their beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
But that series has such a paramount effect on so many people in our age group's childhood. So hard to just cut that out. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Like, just imagine you being young and watching even if you didn't read the books, watching the movies for the first time. It was like,
that series is magical. There's no better word for it. The current issues around the creator of it is unfortunate, but you can't help that those books touched you in your life to a way that's changing for you as a person.
It's to the point where HBO had to do like two separate things, one with her involved and one without her involved.
Yeah,
for the anniversary.
Wow.
But
we're gonna try and stay away from political stuff on this.
We are. I just felt like it had to be brought up a little bit to say, like,
don't
support her as a person, but the world she created affected us as children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree with you there too.
It's not her world anymore. It's ours.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So what do you got next for us, Aaron?
All right. I'm gonna get made fun of this, I'm sure, but Kingdom Hearts.
When you walk away,
dude, that song is still on my shuffle list. I don't give a shit. Simple and Clean is a goddamn bop. It really is.
You'll be upset with me because I've never played one.
What? And here's the thing: I would not recommend it to you now. I wouldn't. No. I would not recommend anyone who did not grow up with these games to try them. End of story.
Here's my
opinion. I did watch the first one being played though. So
watch the camera. Watch the camera. Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, 3.
Nope, 3 was... Yep. I would say 3 was mid. A lot of the spin-offs were really fun and creative.
2 was phenomenal.
2 is the one that is truly on my list. It is. I'm putting the series as a whole because it's hard to say a standalone game when it's a huge arcing story.
Mm-hmm.
But Kingdom Hearts 2 is by far my favorite of the series. But this series it was so different when it came out. So uniquely itself. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
very often in that era where you got a game that was full of it was wholesome, it was whimsical, it was dark, it was mysterious. It was just so uniquely itself.
And it had Goofy.
I'm had Goofy, dude. Best character in the
Gorge.
game.
What?
But just in that
Garf.
age when I was just getting into Final Fantasy, Disney was kind of on the wane because I was, I'm too old for that stuff. I'm 13 now, but it was just
Avengers
so
is Disney. Joke's
it
on
was
you, homie.
it was just
It had
such
just
a
enough.
it was just such a unique blend of seeing Mickey Mouse talking to Cloud. Like, what the heck is going on here? And I don't think there will ever be anything like it again, unless we get like, oh, we're gonna do a Winnie the Pooh with Avengers. Like, let's go. Like, I don't
I'm
think
down.
so.
Copyright. Copyright.
It's all
That's
Disney.
my idea.
It's all Disney.
That's our idea.
But nonetheless, Kingdom Hearts is just something so unabashedly original, and it just did its own thing and didn't really care.
Yeah,
And I loved it as a kid, and I still
series-
do. It still has a special place in my heart.
The series was good, but 2 is definitely the golden medal of the 3.
I would say 2 and Birth by Sleep, the PSP game, were primo. Birth by Sleep was dope.
I didn't have any of the handhelds though. So
I bought a PSP to play Birth by Sleep because
I bought a PSP for Patapon and then the UMD's movies.
UMD movies, man, what a trip.
That's only partially a joke. Patapon was great.
Patapon is a classic. I love Patapon, and there was a lot of great games on the PSP, honestly, especially of that level, like Patapon and what was it? The Cake Princess or something like Fat Princess or something like that people loved.
Oh, Fat Princess was on the actual PlayStation.
Oh, was it?
On the PSP.
Oh, I thought it was a PSP one.
Yeah.
But there was so many great games on the PSP. But yeah, just that's all I know to really say about Kingdom Hearts being my next one on the list. Like, just so nostalgic, such a weird blend.
I think I don't know that this would make anyone else's list in the world, but the next one for me, Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. Game Boy Advance. So, are you guys familiar with the Fire Emblem series?
To any of
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, I came across this game. I would have never probably had any interest in it in its day, and I likely wouldn't have had any interest in current entries for it had I not come across this title as like one of the free options on the 3DS. So it was a game that I could have picked a handful of games, and I just was like, oh, let me check this out. It looks kind of neat, like turn-based, permadeath, story-based type of game. And what I really loved about this game was sprite animations. This is a time where I really loved like 8-bit, 16-bit, that type of stuff. Like I was into like obviously like Pokemon on the on the Game Boy and stuff like that was really cool. It reminded me of that type of style, right? It also had amazing art in the combat animations. So is this turn-based like overworld type of style, sprite-based stuff, and then when your character would fight another character, like an enemy or something like that, it would go into this side view, like almost like a fighting game style, and they would act out their animations. I quite literally sunk so much time into this game that you would get so emotional if you lost a character because they were dead. They were gone.
Permadeath.
You could lose. Quite literally, you could lose your right-hand man from the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just gone. And that was it.
Man, I'm so tempted to try Fire Emblem because the permadeath thing, I would leave that on because that feels like what makes it interesting and have stakes. And I just, I wish I could have experienced one of those like that.
If you could get your hands on Sacred Stones, I'd recommend it. To be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of where they've taken the series. Fire Emblem Awakening is good, so that's actually not bad if you want to play that on like 3DS or something like that.
Did you just bounce off of Three Houses?
Yeah, so like I went to Fire Emblem Sacred Stones, then it was Awakening, and then I checked out Fates. Awakening, I nearly beat. Fates, I dropped real quick. And then I have 3 houses, and I pretty much dropped that. I went on a little kick again of playing it, but it's just the art direction that really grabbed me for Sacred Stones. Seeing the sprites, getting story in a way that was pretty old school, like, was a really cool thing. It just vibed with me in particular, and again, it just harkens back to like those good feelings, those memories. It's just like nothing else to do. I'm sinking myself into this story, and much like Guardians of the Galaxy, with what Harry said, you thought like the game was going to end, and it just kept going, and it was just so awesome, and the stakes were so high. I would be a wuss now, and I would probably save scum in order to keep my characters. Unlike when I first played it, I just let them die, and that was it because I didn't care. It was like, okay,
so
they're gone.
Cool. It's. I'm looking at screenshots of it now and stuff, and it gives me really strong. Like, I don't know if anyone here's played it, but Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Get strong vibes of that from it. So.
Yep. And there are a lot of like there's a lot of meta in terms of like character growth and stats. Some characters are glass cannons. Some characters are just overall like terrible. Like they're just so weak that you have to baby them. You have to weaken an enemy before allowing the other weaker character to get the killing blow to level them up. So you have to think so hard about it, and it's like playing chess in that sense.
It's
so
awesome.
Cool.
It's so cool.
Recruiting other characters happens in like not the overworld, but in the map for the level, right? So you would see a neutral character that you have to actually walk up to with a certain character and talk to them to recruit them. Yeah. If you didn't, they could get killed, they could fight you, they could do whatever, and you would never get that character. You'd never get that character ever again. You could look at the roster of characters, and it's huge. And that's what I love about the Fire Emblem series. I just wish, I can't turn back time. Like, that's like an old man kind of thing. Like, I want it to be the same as that. That was my entry, and I'm sure there are fans out there that enjoy older games in the series, or newer games in the series. That was the one for me that introduced me, and that will forever be like a pivotal game for me.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Go on, Harry.
What's yours? What's your next one, Harry?
Take it away.
It's gonna catch a lot of flack. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Why would it catch flack?
No,
that's just crazy though.
That is one game that I have set out to go back into and 100% it, and I haven't done that in a while.
Okay, wow. Okay. So tell us what draw. This is the newest game on probably any of our lists, I would think. So tell us what pulled you in so hard that this recent of a game made it to your top 5 of all time.
The story is beautiful. It follows like good lore, like it quills a smartass. It's just how it is. And I want to get the skins, like I want to get the costumes. I want to 100% like all of the achievements. I want to do all that with it. It was good enough to do it again. That's like most games I'd be like, oh yeah, I beat it. It's time to let go.
That's
I like that you got something that's so new that later on down the line you kind of get to check in on what like your top 5 is, and it'd be interesting to know if that hangs in there,
right?
And stays in the mix. So that's awesome to see that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's number 3. Like I'm going through and like knocking them off my list. It's good enough to be number 3 right now. So 2 other games have to impress me.
Wow. It's a very positive game too. It's a very happy type of game. Very funny, very comic relief. So I think that a lot of games tend to be very serious in terms of like the kind of open worlds or large games that we play.
They do.
Exactly.
A lot of games take themselves way too serious nowadays. They don't have fun with what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you can tell as a player.
That's the difference between Guardians and then the Avengers game.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so cool. Like Actually, like, really cool that it's such a recent game is on your list. I wish I had more recent games on mine because my newest game is coming up and it's not new.
I went into my list when we started talking about it again just to put it on there because when I finished it today, I was like, that was beautiful. That is going to be one to beat for a while.
That makes me want to get back to it even more.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So my turn again? All
Yeah,
right.
yep.
Number 3 on my list is Bloodborne. Like,
saw that. I could have saw that.
Bloodborne.
You sunk a lot of hours into that.
I haven't beaten it, and I don't care. I love the game. I love the world. I love the aesthetic. I love the lore. I've probably watched more lore deep dives of Bloodborne than I've spent playing the game. So, because I just love it's so unique. I can't think of another game that feels gothic, Victorian, and then cosmic horror out of left field. Like, no, we're talking about eldritch beings and elder gods, and it's just so. It's a vibe that I've not found anywhere in any other game. It's dark, it's gory, and it's by far out of all the Soul games the most aggressive.
Oh yeah.
Like, Larry, you played other Souls games and you kind of bounced off most of them, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you played or seen much gameplay of Bloodborne?
Not a ton, unfortunately, because it was something that I really thought I would gravitate towards, but I didn't have the console, and I enjoyed the fact that it was a smoother Dark Souls, something that was a little more action oriented in that sense.
Yeah, because
a little bit more forgiving too.
I wouldn't even say it's forgiving because
it's a bit more. Than 2.
As I would say, it has by far the most difficult first hour of the game of any Souls game. Like, it is the most punishing intro. Like, if you don't get through that first skill check to see the boss, you are never leveling up. Ever.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Because they have a mechanic called insight. And insight is when you see something otherworldly, beyond your grasp of knowledge in character. And you can't level up with the doll until you have one insight. So you have to see something beyond the realm of normal. To even level up, which is usually a boss.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if you beat the 30 enemies before the boss. If you don't see that boss, you're not leveling up. And if you killed all 30 of those enemies and you have 5,000 souls and you lose to the boss, well, those souls are gone. You lost all those souls because you're not going to go beat the boss, and now you can level up. So it's super punishing in the beginning. But it had that mechanic to where your health bar would get hit, but a bar would stay above where your health is, and if you struck fast enough, you would recover health up to that secondary bar. So it
kind of give you an extra breath.
It gave you a reward for saying, you hit me, screw you, I'm hitting back, and you recover health. But that could just easily land you dead, because you're being hyper aggressive in a situation where you're getting hit.
Yeah, but just trading that damage.
Yeah, but I just love the world, the lore, the vibe, and there's been nothing that I have found that strikes that same dark, gritty horror vibes in a Souls-like game.
Yeah.
So I just absolutely love it. And I could go on for hours about how cool this world is, the story is, the characters, like... Now, Elden Ring is a strong contender already for this list. I just wasn't ready to put on it yet.
Got to give it a little more time to breathe. Yeah,
I really do. Yeah, but I think if I keep talking, I could talk for hours about Bloodborne. So I'm gonna have to pass the torch and move on. But I just absolutely love the game, and nothing enraptures me more.
So my next game may or may not be met with some fanfare or just maybe an eye roll or two, but it's going to be a trilogy, the Mass Effect trilogy for me.
All right, hell yeah.
I'm Commander Shepard, and that's my favorite game on the Citadel. I had not played a set of games that concurrently brought, a story as seamlessly to a conclusion until I played that particular title, and I guess I can say at that point I'd be a sci-fi type of fan, right?
All right.
But going from something, I had to jump back into Mass Effect 1 because I missed the boat on it. So it was like something that I played later. Really, I gear myself more towards Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3. I love the character building. I love the stakes with the characters going into like decisions you make, affecting their lives towards the end. Ultimately, with Mass Effect 3, we know, as obviously paying attention to the gaming world, we know Mass Effect 3, the ending itself was controversial in terms of like where it left off.
So bad that they had to release DLC to correct it.
Yeah.
I'm probably in the minority in the sense that I don't feel that it was bad. Like, I feel like, to me, if I had to write an ending, I'd want to leave it open-ended for people to be able to interpret it. And I wouldn't be able to make a decision of like, everybody just lives. Great. You know what I mean? Like, it's too difficult to do that, and I wouldn't also want somebody like all my characters to just be dead and you just did that for no reason. But you kind of have to make that choice, and your story is your story, how you play it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved everything about that series. Regardless, I like the extra DLC. I loved even playing the multiplayer in Mass Effect 3. Was it? I can't even remember. I think it was Mass Effect 3.
A lot of people love that. Yeah.
Yeah, the multiplayer was great. I played with friends, and it's one of those games too, like that. Going back into the first game, although it was like technically not exactly sound, I can see where that would be groundbreaking for people too when they played that originally, and going back into it was awesome.
All right, so
the dialogue was beautiful too. Like, you could like change the outcome. That was like one of the first games, I believe, where it was dialogue based to change the outcome of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the game obviously suffered from what people refer to as like the diamond of storytelling when it comes to choose your own path games, where they all have to kind of meet back at the top, no matter how much you branch out. But I'm just curious because I'll be honest, I've never touched a Mass Effect game, never once.
Wow.
Not even touched it, even though they're so far up my alley. As someone who has no nostalgia for it but has interest in it, would you recommend the Legendary re-release?
Absolutely.
In this day and age.
Now, here's what I'll say about that. The unfortunate side effect of the Mass Effect trilogy is that it forces you to play through 1 before you can play 2 or 3.
Right.
You can't just pick playing it. So
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you had the opportunity to read the cliff notes on the first game and then play 2 and 3 through, but if you don't have a problem with playing an older title, although it's refreshed a little bit,
I can go in with the caveat of I know this game came out a decade ago. Fine.
Yeah, I'd say go for it. Go for it,
right.
especially if you find a good enough deal for it. Do it.
All right.
Mass Effect 2 just opens it up so much. Like, there's great pickup from Mass Effect 1, but Mass Effect 2 is just chef's kiss.
That's what I've heard from everyone who's a huge fan of the game. Is Mass Effect 2 is the pinnacle of Mass Effect.
Oh yeah,
I might give it a shot. You might have convinced me because I've been on the edge for years, obviously.
And you've been hankering for a story game. I mean,
yeah.
If you can get through Mass Effect 1, which I say that like it's a bad thing. It's an awesome game. It's just, again, it's dated.
Of course.
Getting through that, getting to Mass Effect 2, getting into Mass Effect 3, which refines it even further. Oh my god.
All right. You might have sold me. I might have to find it cheap and get it, and just hunker down, make some time, cut back some sleep, and play more games.
Yep. Go ahead, Harry. Jump into your next one.
My next one is another Sega game. It's Sonic 2.
Oh, what a classic.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I still have the Chemical Zone song stuck in my head.
Dude, that literally when I'm working and I have no music, it's
I have anxiety over those Sonic games.
Oh,
I played a lot of
the swimming levels,
the drowning music.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved Sonic 1. Sonic 1 was awesome.
That was one of
Sonic
my
2 Sonic 2 is where it was like tricky.
Sonic 2 has a special place in my heart. I got it with my Sega Genesis as a kid. It was the pack-in.
Yep.
And 1992, and then when the Sonic and Knuckles thing came out, you can put the cartridge in and replay it as Knuckles. That was one of my favorites.
I never got Sonic and Knuckles.
I was a Sega Saturn or a Sega Genesis kid. That was just how my life was.
My neighbor had Sonic and Knuckles, and I borrowed it all the time, but I never owned it.
That was just a lot of one where it's not like, oh, like it was a deep space in my heart, but it's one that I sink so much time into because I love the game.
Totally fair. So good.
And I'm excited because now they got the Sonic 2 movie coming out.
Did you see the poster for the Sonic 2 movie? Is an homage to the Sonic 2 game cover?
I don't know if you've seen it, Larry. I'm going to put it in
good.
The text chat.
Like, if you do it side by side, the game box art versus the cover of the new one, it's like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Where did I put it?
It's just...
Yeah. What do you got next there?
While Harry pulls that up next is the Final Fantasy game for me that's on this list, and it's the only Final Fantasy game to this day that I've beaten to completion.
The whole Final Fantasy series.
The whole no, fuck that. It's Final Fantasy X.
Okay.
It was the first JRPG that I actually got into as a kid, because when that game came out, 2001, 2002, I was like 10 years old, 11 years old, maybe 12.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the first voice acted game I've ever played that was fully voice acted, and I just loved the character. That game made me cry as a 13-year-old when I beat it.
Wow.
And I put 80 hours into it as a kid. That's crazy. I'm just like, no, I'm playing through a story game. I put 80 hours into it. I beat
and this
it.
is at a time of like memory cards and stuff like that too.
Yeah, so it kept track of it. So every time you did the save, I would update the time played, and just like, when I beat it, it was like 78 hours. It's like, so good, and so many memories, and I just still love the story. I'll hate on the characters. Like, Titus is a whiny punk ass bitch. End of story. He is, but I love Titus so much. Titus, however you want to say it. And I just love that game so much. Like, it just makes me smile, and I always go back to it when I just am feeling reminiscent. I'll just like, I'll put in the remaster and play it for the first few hours, and I never beat it again. Of course, I never play through it all again.
It's one of those things where when you experience it that one time, you don't ever need to go back to it.
No, but it's never, you never go back to it the same way, but going back to it just to relive those first few hours and just feel warm and fuzzy and be like, this is great. I'm not going to play this again, but
it's like the Digimon games.
Dude, I just got RetroArch on my PC. I'm replaying the Digimon games because screw it. Run at 10 times speed and just blast through it and have fun.
Why not, right? Why not? So next one on my list here, and these have been in no particular order. I don't have it's not like I'm saving the best for last or anything like that. We talked about it a little bit earlier here. The Witcher 3,
classic.
It was like game changing for me. You know, in terms of I've never played a Witcher title before this, so folks that have played, Witcher 1, Witcher 2, I don't have that previous experience. So Witcher 3 was my entry into the series. And I will just say that, like, a definitive moment for me was a side quest where I helped a man who abandoned his deceased baby, buried it without a name, was then being haunted by the spirit of that baby. And it unfurls this insane side quest that you could literally ditch. You could literally ditch it, leave it to the side for the rest of the game, never go back to it, or you can see it through and play it through one of 3 ways, and it changes depending on how you like to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a great quest line. I know that quest line.
Yeah, it is just so awesome. And there's more that hit for me too, but that is the one that became like really memorable for me. Not to mention, it's just a sprawling world you can just wander around in. And I'd go back to that anytime, just like you said, have that little bit of a fuzzy feeling of like, yes, I remember what feeling this game gave me.
I need to get to that game. I need to actually play through that game.
I'll probably
So
have to do another playthrough.
do it. Do the side stuff. Don't mainline it. Don't mainline it. You're making a mistake if you do.
Well, now it's after Elden Ring now, so I
Well,
can appease
get
the
Elden
council.
Yeah, but you just drop your Venmo in the Discord.
Join us as a fellow tarnished and play the damn game.
All right, so my number one, and this is my number one, and this is what the series that got me into survival games.
Oh,
Fallout 3,
Fallout.
New Vegas, and 4.
Wow. Yeah.
I've
That's
never
good.
played a Fallout game.
I could not pick
Wow.
one. I could not pick one, so I went with all 3 of those.
Understandable.
Well, 4 not so much, but 3 and New Vegas.
See, I've always
Mwah.
heard New Vegas. If you want to try to get a Fallout, New Vegas is where to start.
Oh yeah,
Because it's.
But 3 is just a beautiful series. Like 3 and 4, and New Vegas and 4, they're good at telling stories.
Yes. I have to say, with Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, I look back on those games very fondly, but at the time that they came out, I just had like gaming ADD. So this is terrible, and I wish I could go back to them, but I just can't, because of like I can't go back to the age of those games. And I even have them on my console, like just to be able to go back to and play. And I started Fallout 3 again, and I just couldn't stick with it because the rose-colored glasses I've had of playing Fallout 3 and going through that, I just couldn't do because I had Fallout 4 in front of me. So gaming ADD hit me with those titles. I love those games. Fallout 4, I played the hell out of, and that holds a special place in my heart. But it's just not enough to make it to my top.
It's something about I agree with you there, because it's something about Bethesda's engine is that it ages like milk. Like the games age poorly unless you have strong nostalgia for them. It's really hard to say like, oh, I loved Skyrim, I'm gonna go back and play Oblivion.
I don't think it's so much their engine. I think it's the way they present their polygonal structures. I think that's how it is.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, I loved Skyrim. I've spent so many hours in Skyrim, but asking me like, well, go check out Morrowind then. It's like, well, that is quite a pill to swallow, going back to Morrowind.
Hey, want some skooma?
So I totally understand that. Like, it's hard to go back to some games. Like, honestly, like after Elden Ring, I don't know if Bloodborne's going to feel the same. Because another game in this series has done everything you loved about that series so much better. It's like,
came in, flipped over the couch, and now you don't know what's going on.
Pretty much. But all right.
What you got for us, Aaron?
Oh, is it back to me already?
Yeah.
It's our last ones.
All right. My last one. My number one. Diablo 2. The original release of Diablo 2.
Wow. I can see that.
Because that game came out at a perfect time when I had friends who had like older siblings and stuff. So I'd go over to their house and they would have 3 computers in their house, one for each sibling. And we just put Diablo 2 on all 3 of them. And all of us played Diablo 2 together on local network play for hundreds of hours. Literally hundreds of hours. Because back in the day, we had this thing called TCP/IP games, where you just like, hey, what's your IP address? I'll log into your game, and you play together that way.
This is all while you're eating Cheetos and listening to Alkaline Trio.
Exactly. Have some Linkin Park Hybrid Theory going. I have my freaking Snapple Elements energy drink, and just chilling.
Orbs. The Orbs drink.
Orbs. I still to this day miss Snapple Elements, the ones like Fire, Sub-Zero, Meteor. They were so good.
the Sobe drinks.
Sobe, dude.
Sobe strawberry banana. Oh, mwah. I found one thing close to it, and it was the V8 Fusion smoothie.
Yeah,
strawberry banana tastes exactly like it, but now can't find it anywhere, and it pisses me off.
It probably had like formaldehyde in it or something.
Probably.
But yeah, so this is a nostalgia ploy. This game, I still play the original sometimes, even though they just remastered it, and it is just a coating over the old game. So the remaster was so cool to go back to, but of course the remaster doesn't hit the same. Like with the remaster, that's what I started streaming when that game came out. That's when I started streaming. I streamed that. I beat Bale. I did Act 5. I'm not doing Nightmare. I'm not doing the next difficulty level. I'm done.
Wait a second. Wait. You started streaming when that remaster came out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, that's right. We kind of started at the same time because
Yeah.
I remember that was probably my third stream or something like that.
Yeah,
And
you
I just
found me on Twitter and reached out, and bada bing, bada boom, here we are.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow, that's wild. I
But-
didn't like put 2 and 2 together there in that sense of like the timeline.
Yeah, so that's what pushed me to start streaming is, man, this is one of my favorite games of all time. This is my most nostalgic game. It's one of the games that I'm super knowledgeable about. You want to know where stuff are, where drops are, what runs to do for certain drops? I can tell you. But so I just spent thousands of hours in that game, probably. Literally. Like World of Warcraft, not on my list, but is probably the only game that rivals my time spent.
Yeah.
So
what about you, Larry? What is your next and final?
My last title here, honestly, if I had these placed in order, this would probably be lower on my list than the others. But Dragon Age Origins.
All right.
Yeah.
And again, nostalgia factor here. The game that didn't age well, but by comparison to the other Dragon Age titles in the series, I loved the like point and click style of like almost like a Diablo style where you weren't directly in control. You would tell your character to attack an enemy, and they'd be fighting the entire time unless you told them to stop. I loved the characters, the story. I loved. You can kind of see a trend aside from Super Mario World. You can see a trend where I enjoy control of a story. I love seeing outcomes. I like the fantasy worlds and stuff like that. That's always like been fun for me. And this was like one of the earlier RPGs that I jumped into that I actually stuck with and really enjoyed, and it didn't get impacted by that whole gaming ADD of picking it up and putting it down and never going back to it.
Right.
Crushed the hell out of that game. If it were ever redone, I would highly jump back into it and enjoy it because it was definitely a world that, while I think later on became a little more shallow, unfortunately, even leading into Dragon Age Inquisition. Despite having a big open world for Inquisition, it didn't have that same hit that the original storyline did, if you ask me. It just, I don't know, it was definitive for me in terms of RPG.
Yeah.
Of course. That's awesome. I've never played a Dragon Age game. Are you excited for the prospects of the new one, or are you very weary?
What were your thoughts on Inquisition?
I was very hyped for that game because Dragon Age 2 let me down a little bit. I loved the action oriented refinement of Dragon Age 2. But the story itself let me down. The exploration aspects let me down because I felt as if there were actually things to find in Dragon Age Origins, even if there really weren't. The level design was great, but
Inquisition was very linear.
It focused more on story.
Yeah, I can literally go back in my mind and say like nothing's gonna pull me away from Inquisition. That's exactly how I felt. And then at the end of the day, it didn't grab me, unfortunately. So I was let down by it.
Yeah.
But that won't take away from my initial experience with what I believe was the, I think the overarching, like what they wanted the Dragon Age series to be versus what they were kind of forced into creating. If you ask me.
Yeah.
I think their whole entire thing was having this type of series that kind of like played like Pillars of Eternity, but like I guess like a closer type of game, like not like the original Fallout, or you know what I mean, like where it was over the top, like your characters are this tiny like character running around, like Diablo 2, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
I think what Dragon Age Origins was and what it should have evolved into was those types of games, but in a more intimate setting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the
I
way
totally
that you
agree.
get, yeah, and it got turned into something else, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah,
But I'll always look on that fondly.
Are you hopeful for the new one then, or are you
I
checked out?
I don't have any expectations for it, and I won't even think about it until it's in front of my face. To be honest with you,
Totally
so,
fair.
I won't be going nuts about it because I've been hurt before.
All right, fellas. I think that's a good point to call this one for today. I think we're all getting a little bit tired and want to spend some time with our significant others. So where can we find you guys at? As far Larry, where we find you?
All right. Well, on all social medias, I am Larry Underpants. Feel free to drop me a line. Tease me about my top 5. Share that top 5 with me. You can find me streaming on Twitch as well, Larry Underpants, and that's a great spot to actually like catch up with me and chat with me live as well.
Yeah. And Aaron, what about you, bud?
All right, you can find me on Twitch and on Twitter, Pyro909. My icon's a little blue ghost. Can't mistake that.
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook if you are wanting to go to a dead page. All Harry 3 Eyes. Yeah, pretty much. I started streaming again, but then work wanted me to work some overtime, and I was like, yeah.
I got
I'll do
overtime
that.
next week, so I feel that vibe.
So yeah, that's our time, guys.
All right.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. Yep.
Thanks for coming out, and
see you in 2 weeks, right?
If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to rate us on your streaming app of choice. Maybe share us with a couple of friends and hit that bell so you can be notified when our next episode drops. If you'd like to join the community, you can follow us on our new Twitter. We got a Twitter, actually. It's you can look us up at Game or Sleep Podcast or at Game or Sleep Pod 1. There you can find our link to our Discord and really get in and ask us questions. That's where all of us are congregate with our friends and fellow streamers. And you can also, in our link, find all the apps that we are currently streaming on. I hope you guys have a good night, and we'll see you guys soon. Much love, guys.